Assalamualaikum everyone. In today's video, we are going to discuss another important biochemistry practical, and this is the experiment number 9. And the name of this practical is to determine the solubility of benzoic acid in water as well as in the ethanol, which is our solvent at the room temperature. So the main objectives of this experiment is to understand the concept of solubility, that what is solubility and why we are discussing it. And the second main objective of this experiment is to determine the solubility of benzoic acid in water, and our second solvent is ethanol. So first of all, we discuss the theory of this experiment. So the theory of this practical is that first of all you will have to define the solubility, that the solubility of a substance in a particular solvent can be defined as the concentration of the substance, yeah, of the solute in the saturated solution at the contained temperature. So the word saturated solution and the word contained temperature is very important. You have to mention both of these terms. So first of all, it expresses the concentration of solute in the solvent, which is in equilibrium with the solute. Solubility actually it is the measure of ability of a solute to get dissolved into your solvent. So the ability of solute to get dissolved into the solvent and the concentration of a substance in a saturated solution at the contained temperature. This is the definition of solubility. So how you determine the solubility? First, in order to determine the solubility, you have to prepare a saturated solution at a specific temperature. And then you will determine and you will measure its solubility by various instruments and various method of analysis. But first, how would you prepare a saturated solution? To prepare a saturated solution, first you have to take a beaker. For example, I explain to you with the help of example. For example, you are given a beaker and which is full of water, and you are asked to prepare the sodium chloride saturated solution. Then what you will do? You will take amount of sodium chloride and start to add up into the beaker of water, and then stir it and dissolve it. You will add up this NaCl and stir and dissolve it until the sodium chloride will start to settle up at the bottom of the beaker. So whenever the sodium chloride start to settle down, then this is the indicating point that your saturated solution is prepared. So in that method, you are going to prepare your saturated solution. Now we move on to the next page. So now you have to discuss some factors on which solubility can be affected. First is the temperature, that whenever you increase the temperature, the solubility increases. And if you increase the temperature of a saturated solution, then you can prepare a super saturated solution. Second thing that affect the solubility is the particle size. You know very well, whenever the particle size decreases, solubility increases, because it is very easy to dissolve small size and fine particle to dissolve. Second is the pH. Already basic and acidic pH has its effect on the solubility. And third is the salt and the thing salt, which means solute, the nature of solute on which we are dissolving and preparing a solution. Now we are going to discuss the apparatus of this experiment. The apparatus you will need is a beaker, a measuring flask, a titration flask, dropper, burette stand, and funnel. This is the apparatus which you need. Now we discuss the chemicals required for this experiment. So the chemicals required to you are the benzoic acid, distilled water, ethanol, and sodium hydroxide. Are the chemicals you need. Okay, and now we are going to discuss the procedure. First of all, you have to wash the and dry all the glassware. Second, you have to calibrate the weighing balance, and third, you have to take 50 ml of water beaker. So now you have to dissolve the benzoic acid in gradually until the saturated solution is formed. Now you transfer the 10 ml of saturated solution in the titration flask. Okay, because we have to done the titration, you will add 1 to 2 drops of phenolphthalein in this titration flask. Phenolphthalein is a indicator, color indicator. It will show the color. So the coloring agent is very important because it gives the sign of titration. So you will titration against the zero point 0.1 normal solution of NaOH. You will titration against. You will first you prepare the benzoic acid saturated solution, and then you transfer the 10 ml out of it into the titration flask, and in the titration flask you will titrate against the zero point 0.1 normal solution of NaOH, and you will also add up the phenolphthalein indicator 2 to 3 drops in it. Now the color will change, and you note the color change, how it changes from colorless to pink color. Phenolphthalein is colorless and it will change into the pink color. Now you also have to note the volume of NaOH which you use for the titration. You have to repeat every procedure, every experiment 3 times, and you have to calculate the mean volume. You have to calculate the concentration, and in that way you will find out the solubility of benzoic acid. I also explain how you are going to calculate the solubility of this benzoic acid. Okay. So now in the last you have to discuss some precautions that you use a clean glassware. You should weight the chemical accurately. You should note the endpoint carefully. You should repeat the process 3 times to get the accurate results. And also you mentioned the result in the last that the benzoic acid is soluble in water and it's at the room temperature. And you will also write the value of its solubility. So now we move on to the its calculations. So in the calculation process, first you have to write the name of experiment, that is to determine the solubility of benzoic acid in water and ethanol at room temperature. You have to make this table. First you write descriptive terms, that it is very soluble, freely soluble, slightly soluble, springly soluble, very slightly soluble, or practically insoluble, and you write up what part of solvent is required for the one part of solute to dissolve. So these are the parts of solvent which we need, and in the one part of solute. Okay, if we need one part of solute, then it is very soluble. If we use 1 to 10 parts of solvent, it is freely soluble. When we use 10 to 30 parts, it is soluble. 30 to 100 parts, it is springly soluble. 100 to 1000, it is slightly soluble. 100 1000 to 10,000, it is very slightly soluble, and more than 10,000 it is going to be practically insoluble. So this is the graph and the table which you mentioned. Now we move on to the calculations of these experiments. So now we move on to the observation and calculation of the following experiment. First, you have to mention the temperature that you are performing this experiment on the room temperature. And suppose your reading replaced by your actual reading, and you use 2.5 ml of NaOH. It is used against the 10 ml water solution. So the formula for this experiment is NBA, means the moles of BA means benzoic acid and the volume of benzoic acid. Okay, moles of benzoic acid multiplied by the volume of benzoic acid is equal to the moles of NaOH multiplied by the volume of NaOH. So you write up all of these values. The moles of benzoic acid is not known to us, we have to find it. And the volume of benzoic acid, we have already mentioned, we take up the 10 ml of 10 ml of benzoic acid, and the moles of NaOH is zero point 0.1 normal solution, and the volume of NaOH is 2.5 ml. This volume you will be calculate from the titration flask. In the titration flask the readings are mentioned. whenever you perform the experiment, you have to write down the value from at the end, the NaOH is adding up. So this 2.5 ml is calculate from performing experiment. So now you multiply and divide it, and at the end the answer is 0.025 moles. So the molecular mass of benzoic acid 122. So you have to calculate its mass, so you multiply its normality by the molecular weight. Its normality is 0.025 and its molecular weight is 122. So multiply both these terms, you will calculate the solubility of benzoic acid. And for 100 grams for 1000 ml, this solubility is 3.05 is for 1000 ml. And for the 1 ml you have to find out its values. Now you have to suppose some readings. Suppose readings 5 ml of NaOH. Now first we use 2.5 ml. Now 5 ml is tightened against the 10 ml of water. Again you will write up the values and you will calculate a normality multiplied by molecular weight and you get the values. So the 1 gram of benzoic acid present in the 100 ml of water. So the 1 gram of benzoic acid, 100 ml of water. So the benzoic acid is soluble in water and at the room temperature, and the solubility is 3.05 gram per liter. So this is the solubility of the water, and at the end you will write up this result. And you will write that benzoic acid is soluble in the water and the solubility of benzoic acid is 3.05 gram per liter. So that was all about the today's lecture. I hope that you will understand this video. If you have some confusion, then ask me in the comment section. I will answer to you. And please subscribe to my channel and also press the bell icon. Take care of yourself, and Allah Hafiz.